Good evening, gentlemen. Lawrence of Asia coming at you once again here from Seoul, South Korea. Hope everybody's doing well. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Share this anywhere and everywhere you want. This evening I'm going to be talking to you all about why in the world is this populated place of Seoul, Korea, why in the world is the birth rate so low? How is that even possible, right? You're going to see how many people there are here. Now, Seoul, combined with the surrounding area, the proximity state around it, is the third largest populated city in the world, if you include Incheon and the surrounding state that Seoul's a part of, which is basically one giant city, similar to Tokyo itself, which I believe is the first or second largest city in the world. Now, population decline is at 0.7, perhaps even at 0.6 here in Seoul, which is 3 to 4 times under replacement rate, right? Which means they need to have like 3 to 4 times as many children here in order to keep up their population, just to keep it stable. Now, gentlemen, I apologize for the camera stability and everything like that. I just had to make another video for you guys. And, you can see here I am. This is my car parked here in Korea. That's actually my car. I always try to find the more affordable, well, the free places to park, right? It's always best. But you'll see as I'm walking around this evening just how many people there actually are in the city of Seoul. I'm in an area called Hongdae here, and there's a ton of people. It's incredibly busy, just about always. And anyway, you'll see. But what are the dynamics that are leading Korea to such a low birth rate? A big part of it is people want to party, not just in their 20s, not just in their 30s, right? But they want to party up into their 40s, 50s, 60s, forever, right? They don't want to have families. They just want to party, right? This kind of dynamic is one that's rooted in pleasure to a very, very high degree. And that's what we have going on here in Seoul. It's very, very common. So that's part of it. People simply cannot be bothered. Another aspect is just the real estate here in Seoul itself is incredibly expensive. I mean, some of the most expensive real estate in the world to actually buy an apartment. And there's all kinds of weird, crazy schemes going on as to why the values of the properties have shot up as much as they have. They're heavily overinflated because there's been a lot of money pumped into the economy here in Seoul, which I could go into in another video and explain some inside information that I know about that most people just do not even begin to understand here about Korea. But basically the prices to buy apartments here are, in the prime areas are just so expensive you could not even imagine. $7 million for an old, ugly apartment, Now, the dynamics, ultimately, I could talk to you about all the different dynamics, about the affordability, about the high demand, basically the expectation of one's children needing to have the highest and best education and nothing but the best in all of it to the highest degree, which is next to, it's really the highest standard in the world, but it basically robs the children's childhood. They don't really get a proper childhood. Now, I do understand that this video may not be scripted and in the best environment, but I figured I could talk to you about anything. This is a worthwhile subject, and I'll just give you some interesting background to look at, right? So essentially, and I can show you guys all these pubs to the side, it's never-ending people here in Seoul. It's always like that, right? Anyway, 안녕하세요. How are you? So essentially, essentially, the biggest issue is the culture itself. Korea runs on idols. The whole country, everything's branded and sold via idols, and they're made to be big superstars, K-pop stars and whatnot, and everyone looks up to them, and everyone essentially, basically, they do whatever they do. So, for instance, the K-pop stars here in Korea, right? They drink iced coffee, right? Even though it gets absolutely freezing cold here in Korea, everyone, 안녕하세요. Everyone drinks iced coffee because that's what the idols do, right? So people follow like that, just like you would in America as well. You have different people follow their idols, right? But in Korea, it's next level. It's times 10, it's times 20. Literally everything in the country is sold via idols. Very smart in a way, You got North Korea, you got South Korea. North Korea has one brand, South Korea has another, and one is communism, one is capitalism. So you could say that South Koreans do capitalism better than anyone. They've grown to the heights in such a fast time. Anyway, back to it. I love to ramble, as you can see. But back to it. The population decline could be solved via the idols, because everyone follows what the idols do, right? So you could change the culture, make it cool to have children. If it was cool to have children, whereas as now it's not. You ask pretty much any Korean girl, hey, do you want to have children? Are you planning on have children? And they'll laugh at it, they'll gawk at it. Even if they're 35, even if they're 40, they'll laugh and gawk at the question, because, and they'll more so than any other grouping of people I've ever seen, they just don't really, they don't find it to be cool to have children, right? I think it's absolutely epic, awesome, and I do believe that a great number of people will be sadly disappointed, realizing they actually would have been a lot happier if they had children, right? But then they don't, right? So if it were made cool to have children, the way to do that would be to basically work with the idols, tell them like, look, you're going to be made famous, you're going to be rich and wealthy, all your dreams are going to come true, everybody's going to worship you, right? However, you're going to have to agree to have children by the age of 30, right? And this is going to be in your contract. Now, it doesn't really, it's not something that sounds ideal for people, right? It sounds crazy, right? I'm just saying, though, if folks were to actually do that, that would solve the population issue here in South Korea. It absolutely would. Just found some nice seats here outside of a restaurant. Oh, it feels nice to sit down. Yeah, globally, guys, ladies and gentlemen, we have a population decline going on all across the world. And I have to say, as a father of three, that it is absolutely the most precious and beautiful creation, time, most precious time of my life, just being able to encourage, sculpt, and mold my children, to see them blossom and grow. It's unlike anything. I could be the most famous K-pop star in the world. I could be the best actor. None of it, all of it would pale in comparison to having one's own children. But people don't know, people don't know. And this is a very populated place. Like I said, Seoul itself is the third most populated city in the world if you were to combine the surrounding region, which it technically is part of the city. half of Koreans live in this city of Seoul and the surrounding areas. So 1 out of every 2 people. It is incredibly efficient, absolutely efficient, the most efficient country in the world. Like, here's a delivery truck now. They drive around with the doors open. Look at that. All the deliveries are in the back, right? They jump out. You can get anything at any hour, literally delivered. You order something, it'll be delivered anywhere from 3 hours to the next day, 3 to 24 hours later. And you rarely have to wait for 2 days for anything, right? Their equivalent of Amazon Prime is not $39.99 a month. It's like 7,000 won per month, 8,000 won per month, which is about $6 a month. And it's a big city, so everything's close to each other. And this 15-minute city that people are talking about now, this is Korea. They're talking about, the leaders of innovation, Seoul, South Korea. It actually is all basically a giant 15-minute city for the most part. I'd say 90+% of all Koreans live in a 15-minute city where everything you can imagine you might need, hospital, market, school, cafes, restaurants, everything you might imagine you might want to have is all within a 15-minute walking distance even of your actual home. So, gentlemen, like, comment, subscribe, share the video. I know this is perhaps not the most informative video. My last video that I did do really well. It was really thorough, and I shared a lot of even frustrations that I have being here in South Korea, just in the dynamic of how it's super antisocial to a pretty decent degree, and you almost feel as though you need to go out and drink to socialize. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Koreans themselves just don't really loosen up and relax until they do drink. However, in the Koreans' defense as well, I mean, it is a giant city, and when you're surrounded by people all the time, even from the moment you step out of your apartment and you walk into a elevator and people are looking at you, judging you, it's nice to retreat into oneself and not feel like you need to communicate and socialize all the time. But I do miss those social normities that we have in the West, where people just are naturally gracious towards other folks. This taxi's driving way too fast down the street. Anyway, where people will hold the door for one another. People will give us an acknowledgement of recognition when they pass by. That kind of thing rarely happens here, and it's just it's not the norm. And I do miss those kind of things. And even when I'm in other Asian countries, I see that they seem to be a lot more normalized. So what's normalized here is just to be cold, very inward, and also it can be an incredibly judgmental society as well, where people will just stare at you, but in not a nice way. So I had someone left a comment on my last video, and they said, those people really know how to give you the I see through you treatment and pretend like you're not even there while looking through you, which is true. Koreans are kind of known for that. A lot of beautiful aspects of Korea as well, and Korean people, which I didn't point out in the last video. I was just basically pointing out more of the negative aspects. 안녕하세요. You want to say hi? Okay. Well, what's interesting is when I pull out the camera, as in the last video as well, you guys all saw, people slow down and want to be acknowledged. So what is it in a society like this where no one gets attention? Okay, children don't get attention from their parents because they're always rushed off to the hagwon, right? So what's actually happened is everyone's actually starved and deprived for attention, right? That's why when you turn on the camera, people run towards it, right? They want to be seen. People want to, it's the same everywhere, I suppose, in a lot of ways, but people are attention deprived and really isolated and on their own, especially in big cities, and especially here in Seoul, South Korea, where they have the lowest birth rate in the entire world. They have the highest suicide rate in the entire world. People are starving for attention.